Hey, what's going on, guys? My name is Brandon. Welcome to Audio Addiction, where you can find latest album reviews, you can find our band interviews, and you can find live coverage of the concerts that we get. I've been feeling a little bit under the weather, so if you hear that in my voice, that is the reason. I probably have some sort of cold or something, so definitely trying to fight that off a little bit. Also, I'll be doing reviews of both Granite Hands and All System No. They're both smaller local bands. One's from Texas and one is from California, respectively. So check those out. Interviews with them will be going out very soon as well. But tonight, we're going to be talking about Savage Hands' newest record, The Truth in Your Eyes. For those of you who aren't familiar with this band, they are a band based in Maryland. I had the awesome privilege of interviewing them. I think it was not last year, but maybe the year before that. Not entirely sure, but I know I had the opportunity. And guys, if you are watching this and you want to do a follow-up one, I'd love to have you guys back on, and maybe I'll have to ask Austin. Shout outs to him for sending me this record early, as per usual. But I'm pretty familiar with this band. I did a review of their 2018 EP, which was Barely Alive. If you're a fan of this record, I would definitely go check out the prior record to this one. This is their first full length on Sharptone, which is very cool, so congrats, guys. So I'm going to go through each track, give you my thoughts and opinions on it, go through some pros and cons, and then finish it out with an overall rating. So the first track is called Memory. Is one of the singles that have been released. I think they released 4, and obviously the album is out now, so you can go check out all of the songs. But this one was really tight, especially I try not to listen to the singles before they came out, but I know that shouts to Andrew Bayless. He's the one that produced the record, and I'm a big fan of his because I loved Life on Repeat when he was doing music, and I'm glad he's, transformed his role into a producer now and doing that sort of thing. But getting back more to this band, I really dig Michael's voice. I felt like that was one of the stronger points on the EP that I had reviewed a couple years ago, and as the years have progressed, he's definitely gotten better as a vocalist. The voice that he has is just really captivating, and it's a good portion of what makes this song great. I think that his vocal range is really well executed. I think he's really got some memorable hooks. It's not just like this thing when you're listening to it, like if you listen through to it, you're like, oh man, when's the chorus coming or something like that. I felt like everything vibed out really well. And if you're a fan of, like I said earlier, like a more hard rock kind of metalcore vibe, you'll definitely dig this band a lot. Not entirely familiar how far of a reach that they go, but I know that I'm sure if you like, kind of bands in that sort of lane of music, you'll definitely dig this band a lot for sure. The energy of the song, I feel like, kind of keeps a similar tone throughout. There aren't really just powerful moments other than the chorus. I felt like that was the real crescendo moment in this track, but overall I think it was very solid. I wouldn't say it's particularly a bad song, but I think it is well structured, well arranged, and I think it was executed pretty well. So we're gonna move into track number 2, which is Brain Dead. I really love the groove of this track. Been having this record for a couple weeks now. I've had the opportunity to listen to these songs an ungodly amount of time, so this one was one that definitely stuck out to me when I was listening through on however many listens I was on at the time. I love the kind of subtle Linkin Park influence with the sort of electronics, especially in the verse where you can hear that more apparently. But there's a lot of definitely moments of that where there are some, I would say, Linkin Park-esque moments with the beats, the electronics, just kind of the arrangement of it just feels very Linkin Park to me. And I feel like if you're in this era and you are of the same age as I am, I know that a lot of people drew a lot of influence from Linkin Park in their obvious heyday. But another really strong chorus on this track, definitely one that Mike pushes his vocals to do even further. I would say even more so in Memory. Like, his vocals are really good, but with each song, I feel like he's been stepping it up and, putting a little bit more like grit or punch or emotion to it. I felt like, I don't typically go over lyrics, but a lot of the lyricism in this record feels very personal. It kind of feels cathartic in such a way. And you can really hear the kind of, the heart-wrenching moments in a song like this and in a record like this as well. One of my favorite parts is just that breakdown riffage at around the 2 minutes and 5 second mark to around the 2 minutes and 23 second mark. I thought that was very tight. And I think just Nathan and Justin just ripped it. They did a fantastic job, and they made this song memorable, so I definitely appreciate that. So we're going to move it into track number 3, which is Blue. I believe this is the most recent single, if I'm not mistaken, but this one really just worked out super well. The intro is super tight. Definitely, again, a Linkin Park vibe in this track as well. But out of all of the singles that I had the opportunity to listen to, or obviously noted them down when I was doing this review currently, I felt like this one was the strongest one out of the 4 for sure. It was one track that I would say maybe Demon might be a close second, but Blue, every time that I go back and listen to it, it's that memorable hook. It's just that aggressive tonality that they brought on along in this track. I think it just kind of balances out well between the really kind of softer moments that you hear in a track like this, but also kind of like those really hard-hitting, punchy moments that you come to expect from this band. So it's a good mix of both. I love the gritty tonality that Mike brings to his vocals, and his screams sound really phenomenal as well. I feel like they're in a track like this, there's more of an opportunity to hear that. So I feel like with his screaming, it's definitely been improved since the EP days as well. Definitely dig the breakdown at around the 2 minutes and 5 second mark to around the 2 minutes and 30 second mark. That was very cool as well. And this one, it just has that that earwig sort of thing, like it just earworm sort of vibe where you're just listening to it and you're like humming the melody or whatever. This track is one that I always come back to. I think it's one of the strongest tracks off the record, without a doubt. So we're gonna move into track number 4, which is Demon. Only one demon. But this one is a single as well. And this one was good just because I feel like they really switched up the vibes in this track like this, as a lot more darker undertones, I think, to reflect kind of the darker lyricism that goes along with a track like this. And I think that there's a lot more screaming. It's a little bit more heavier. It's a little bit more in your face. And I think that obviously plays to the strength of not only the title of the song, but also like the lyricism and how the song is arranged and written out. It just feels a little bit more punchy, a little bit more aggressive. And I definitely dig that in a track like this. Also, I think it's a great follow-up to Blue, being another really kind of more high energy, a little bit more punchy track. And I think that the verses really do a good job of selling that sort of darker undertone, while the chorus really kind of almost lifts you up in a certain way, but not so much that, you don't imagine going back into that same spot in the second chorus. Very cool part at around the 1 minute and 50 second mark to around the 2 minutes and 15 second mark. I really dig the breakdown. It brings that sort of high energy, high octane vibe, and I really dig a punchy song like this one in the mix. So we're gonna move it into track number 5, which is Rotten Soul. This one is one of the more interesting tracks, and I think a lot of people are gonna be surprised by this one. It has almost like a Bring Me the Horizon-esque kind of like anything with like electronic inspiration. I feel like a track, this is one of those tracks. Interestingly enough, the electronics kind of continue through the first verse, and I think it also allows us as listeners to hear Mike kind of do stuff that's a little bit more melodic, a little bit less aggressive. I wouldn't say that all the songs were really particularly just aggressive, but I think it's opportunity to have one of those like more healthier, softer moments that I think really counterbalances the little bits of just aggressive punch that are in a track like this later on. And I think comparatively to the like more melodic style verses, it's a nice juxtaposition when you're listening to the song, and you can kind of hear the contrast of both. I also like the nice change of pace, considering that I would say the first four songs have a pretty decent amount of energy, and I'd say they even dare to say that they probably have more energy than Rotten Soul, but I think the arrangement of this track really saves it, and I think it also brings out a lot of the best qualities of the band so far in Savage Hands. And I think so far in how far you've listened to the record, if you listen to it in numerical order, then this would obviously make a little bit more sense. But I think even still, like if you listen to them out of order or whatever, I think that they would still fit out pretty well, despite maybe not being, you know, one after the other. I think it's a great blend of heavies and melodicness. There's just a really great punch to some of the choruses, and I think the verses is really where they play off of that more melodic nature. And I just think it's very cool that they strike a balance between those two things, because, you know, I feel like in a track like this you could go really like poppy, a little bit more fun, you know, especially towards the end of the song. But I like that they kind of continue the same sort of trend, and I think that it is a really solid one in my regards. So we're going to move it into track number 6, which is Washed Away. I would say much like Rotten Soul, this one is a bit slower, a little bit more melodically based, but I think it's balanced around another really strong chorus off this record. I think they've focused on making songs that were, I would say, a little bit more memorable and a little bit more with a hook in comparison to their EP. I think they took a lot of the stuff that they learned on the road and just being in a band and kind of, you know, pushing it forward and hoping that people check out their music because, you know, it's really catchy, or it's really got this beautiful melodic, you know, overtone to it, or it's just really heavy aggressive and it just shows how I feel in the moment. I think it really kind of runs the gamut of all those things as well. But I think overall, in comparison to some of the tracks off this record so far, I think it feels pretty straightforward. There isn't really anything like extraneous in this excursion on this track, but I think that overall it's one that is a good one from front to back. So we're going to move it into track number 7, which is Lonely. Now we're getting into some of the heavier stuff. I love the intro of this track. It's just this like really heavily laden electronic part at the beginning. I think is just really well executed, but I think if you again were hoping for more punchier, more aggressive tracks that I'd say kind of in the lines of like Demon and like Brain Dead, a little bit more like in your face, then this one is definitely the one for you. I would say Mike primarily does screaming on this track and does some background clean singing like for choruses and stuff, but I think overall they really knew that they needed a track that just kind of just hit hard, and this is definitely one of those. Like I had mentioned before, I think a good majority of this record is, well, this song in particular has a ton of screaming on it, so if you are into one of those, you know, heavier tracks, then definitely give this one a listen. But that breakdown at the 3 minutes and 20-second mark to around the 3 minutes and 45-second mark just was really solid. Just really hits like an absolute truck, and I would say this one's one of my favorites absolutely on the record. I think it's just executed well. I think the structure in the track is super well. I just think overall it was one track that as soon as I listened to it, I knew this was going to be one of my favorites off the record. So we're going to move into track number 8, which is Bloodshot. Much like Lonely, I think this one keeps kind of the same energy as well, keeping it up, keeping it high, keeping it in your face. But again, not to kind of sound like I'm beating a dead horse, but I also feel like in a track like this, this song is just memorable because it's a lot of the aspects of why I like Savage Hands so much, and I think that they have a lot of potential. I think in a track like this, you can really hear a lot of the you know, the thought process of what they're trying to do, where either they want, you know, they want to have more of a softer track, but then they also want to have tracks that just hit like super hard, and I feel like Bloodshot and Lonely, being back to back, just really keeps the energy going. I think overall, I think the screaming is really well done, but I also feel like they do a really great job of kind of balancing both of those things. It isn't just one thing that sounds good. There's some really great screaming going on, and then there's some really great clean singing going on. So I don't think it's particularly one thing, but I think it just works in the context of a track like this. And I guess overall, something that I really enjoyed as well was the breakdown at around the 2 minute mark to around the 2 minutes and 32 second mark. Just really well executed, super heavy, super melodic, and it was definitely one that I felt like if they played live, it would be definitely tearing up pits for sure, without a doubt. So we're going to be moving on to track number 9, which is Break the Ice. I think, again, not to reference another older track, but I think much like Rotten Soul, I feel like Break the Ice will be that same thing, which is unfortunate because I think the hooks on this track are just absolutely out of this world, but I can understand why that may or may not work for everybody. But overall, this one just really aggressive, really punchy. I think they kept it pretty straightforward. It's well written, but there wasn't anything particularly just like, oh my god, like this is nuts or whatever. I think it's well arranged, well executed, and I think they did a great job of kind of keeping it more aggressive. I guess it's pretty much hard rock when I had heard it, but overall I really enjoyed this track as well, and it is one to keep an eye out for. So we're gonna move into track number 10, which is Crazy. This one, I think, along with Bloodshot and Lonely, are my other favorite off this record. I think that just immediately as the song starts, it just brings a lot of energy to it, and I think that just the way that they kind of combine a lot of different aspects, whether it be post-hardcore, whether it be metalcore, whether it be anything else, I think they really kind of found a nice balance of all of those things, and they put it into a really well contained, well thought out track. I also really enjoyed the aspects of the record that that they're able to kind of condense the spirit of this record into like one track. I think the last two definitely feel the most natural to what they're doing and the natural course of what they're planning out. So I definitely dig this one a lot. And I think, it has the right amount of moments of heavy and melodic as well. So we're going to move into track number 11, which is Never Change. This one was very cool. I dig the sort of string or electronic sort of intro that was laid out at the beginning of the song. I think it was very sick. I also feel like it is pretty cool to again have another track that feels very reminiscent of multiple things associated with it. I think they just really did a great job of not even as keeping kind of the melodic nature of what's going on, but also just knowing that there's gonna be some freaking heavy parts and that they just better nail it. So really enjoyed that as well. And I also feel like Mike was pushed out of his comfort zone in a track like this. I think that just being kind of one of the bigger tracks off the record, it would be very cool to see what they do next in a track like this one. So some pros and cons to have about the record. Shouts again to Andrew Bayless, their producer, and Life on Repeat. I think he did an awesome job. I've been following his content for a couple years too as well, and I know that he puts out some really kick-ass work. So if you're in a band, go check his stuff out. Another pro I think is really catchy. I think this whole record here, from front to back, is really well executed and well. There's a lot of moments that didn't feel kind of stale in normal conversation, and I really enjoyed just kind of the hard rock vibes of this record. I think that it's really well executed, and I think they have a lot of good things coming. Obviously touring with While She Sleeps and He Is Legend, but I think they have something special going on, hopefully sooner than later. But the cons that I have about it, I think starting off the record, it's a little bit slow. I think in a track like Memory, and I'd say maybe even possibly Brain Dead, were just a little bit more, I guess, reserved about doing something like that. So I feel like this record really was, I would assume, was pretty cathartic for them to have out. But overall, really enjoyed that. Just enjoyed the record from front to back, and I don't really feel like there's one in particular that stands out to me that's bad, but I think that overall it's a good record. So Savage Hands, The Truth in Your Eyes, I'm going to be giving it a 9.3 out of 10. Definitely go check it out. Links in the description where you can find out about Savage Hands, if they're coming out to tour near you, and things of that nature. And if you've listened to the record, let me know in the comments what you think about it. If you agree with me, if you disagree, I like to know your thoughts on it. As well as that, again, hoping to have more content out come 2020. I have some really cool live sets that I'm going to be working on editing, so keep your eyes peeled for those. But otherwise, thank you guys for watching. My name is Brandon. We hope you got your fix, and we'll be talking with you soon. Peace. Hey guys, hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. Of course, if you enjoy what we do, make sure to go check out the other series we do. We do album reviews, we do band interviews, and we do live videos, so definitely go check that out. Hit that subscribe button. It really helps our channel, helps us grow. Make sure to hit that like button as well. Go follow us on social media. That's all down below. We try to keep that as updated as possible. We also made a new website where we'll be posting photos of upcoming concerts and stuff like that, which you can go check out at audioaddictionmedia.com, and come get your fix with us, guys. Talk to you later. Deuces.